Welcome to a new episode of Emerging Brands Podcast with Kelly Bennett. I love talking with founders who are building really cool emerging brands. And today's guest, Maggie Rose Macar, the founder of Zant, is on to talk about how she's building her mental health, wellness, brand, and app, and really taking us behind the scenes of all things that she's building. Maggie Rose was on my radar because we attended the same accelerator dinner with Dream Ventures, and I am aware and curious of Zant and what she's building. But Maggie Rose, welcome to the podcast, and I can't wait to talk all things Zant.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I mean, it
You're
really
so
is such a
welcome.
pleasure, and I'm so excited.
Great. Well, to kick things off, I would love to hear the behind the scenes of why you started your brand. It's something that is critical for everyone to have awareness around, but what were you seeing of like, okay, I have to create this brand. I have to create um this space for people. Would you walk us through the behind the scenes of how this got started?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first off, I never thought that I would be a founder. Like this was not in my roadmap for my life. This is not something that I ever, wanted necessarily to be. I actually originally wanted to be a prosecutor. So I was studying criminal
Interesting.
justice, and yeah, that's what I thought I wanted to do. And during that time in my life, I was a young 19-year-old who was going through college. I didn't have my family in my life at that time, and it was just going through a lot personally already. And then working full time, paying for my own school. So also very busy as a young person. And all these things in my life, naturally, you could imagine the kind of stress that I was under as this young 19-year-old girl. And then I ended up actually losing a very, very close friend of mine to suicide. And when that happened for me, it's just something that one, you can never prepare for. And it's something that even when it happens, you try to understand something that you can't ever understand.
Right.
And so it was just like, devastating for me and already going through so much and dealing with certain mental health, I guess you could say roadblocks or hurdles or challenges already. I was in a really dark place and I just completely lost myself and I hit this rock bottom point. And I did not grow up in a family that was like, hey, when you have problems, go to a therapist. I didn't have that. It was very stigmatized. And so that was not my first place to go. But eventually I ended up going to Google and just like endlessly searching on Google, trying to find a therapist in my area, trying to find a counselor to talk to, and just hit more roadblocks. And these were, this was a part of this fragmented and broken system that still exists today when it comes to getting support. And it was long waiting periods and it was really, really costly intake sessions followed by continued sessions that I just couldn't afford. And I didn't have health insurance at the time, so that did not help. So I was in this horrible position and had one therapist eventually who took a chance on me and helped me for only $10 a session because he really
Wow.
believed that I would commit to that work and that by committing, he could help me. And so that is where my pain turned into passion. And at that point, I was really on a mission to try to help other people so that A, they did not ever feel like I did, and they didn't hit those same roadblocks that just feel really defeating. And B, maybe they didn't feel like my friend. And I do believe that mental health care and mental health support is preventative in that particular type of way.
Right.
And so at that point, I went back to school, studied psychology, switched around criminal justice over to psychology, and this little snowball kind of started to form and eventually through COVID led to the formation of Zant. And with Zant, the way we started was a social impact venture. We just said, you know what, we want to create a mobile app. It makes it really accessible and really easy for a young person to just download an app and within seconds answer 2 questions that say, what are you feeling and what area of your life are you feeling this? That acts as a filter so that when they get into the app, they're already seeing a catered list of providers that could be the right fit for them. And take it one step further, their first session is 100% free. Their second session on is $25 a session. And so we said, could we make that possible? And the way we made that possible was by actually saying, well, lawyers offer pro bono work and pro bono services. So are there therapists, coaches, or counselors that would also offer maybe their services at $25 just as a way to give back? And so at that point, as you can tell, it's been quite a long journey, but at that point, we started really understanding our product market fit. And that was through launching this app, saying we need to make this so easy for the provider since they're already giving their time.
Right.
So can we replace Calendly and different subscriptions for scheduling? Can we replace Zoom? And some providers were even using FaceTime, which is not HIPAA compliant. So, could we replace video and add an in-app video? Could we create a way for them to track how much impact they're having, track their income, track how many hours they were in sessions, and make it so simple for them to just give back through Zant? And what we didn't realize was that we had created this really powerful tool for mental health professionals, whether they were a licensed therapist, a counselor, or a coach. At that point, we really started to build our actual brand, and we started really building our brand voice, and we started pivoting our focus to be on simplifying practice management to amplify impact for providers. That's how we went from 10 to 100 providers in that year. And we said, you know what, if we could help mental health providers, coaches, counselors across the country manage their practice, gain 80% of the time that was going towards admin headaches, marketing, PR services, client engagement. If we could give them that 80% for client sessions, would they be more likely then to help young people or low-income individuals in need for as little as $25 a session? For our network, the answer was yes, because we got really good at giving them that time back. So
Yeah.
as you can tell, there has been quite an evolution to Zant being Zant. And with, founding the company, again, I never saw myself as a founder. This was just something that I felt really passionate about. And I felt that I had to do something. Little did I know it would end up being Zant.
Incredible. So for you, you found a differentiator not only for customers to have access to this mental health platform, but also for the practitioners to find more ease in how they were showing up and their system management. So that's a really interesting differentiator that I'm sure still is a roadblock for many practitioners that you're now able to offer, like, hey, we're going to make your life way easier by you providing, much discounted services. So that's a really interesting value add. And also, you're providing value on both sides, which is,
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was something that, again, it came with that evolution, being a founder, being a startup, and trialing different things and really focusing on feedback from our providers. Because the moment that, and this is actually a funny story, the moment we had a couple providers come to us and say, hey, can I use this for my private practice? It's really great. I mean, it just has everything I, would use on all these other subscriptions and platforms. And of course, we save them a lot of money by doing it that way too. So they said, can we use this? And we had like a total rookie move. And we were like, no, we only want this to be this way because that is the app. We want you to only use it with our
Mm.
marketplace clients. And then had so many people asking about it that we kind of just threw our hands up and we're like, you know what, let's just do a beta study and let's just see if we market this differently. And we say, hey, this is a practice in your pocket.
Oh, wait, you froze.
Oh no, am I
You're back.
back?
You're back.
Man, as we're talking about technology too, like of
As
course
we're
it
talking about
to,
tech, no, all
has
good.
to go down. Um, yeah, let's see, where did I leave off? I think
Practice in your pocket.
yeah, we said, can we market this as a practice in your pocket? And the moment that we figured that out, we tried it out. That's when we went from 10 to 100 providers in our network. And for us, we all of a sudden were bridging this gap between private practice management, where these providers could onboard their private practice clients and manage them with this practice in your pocket, but then also bridging that with marketplace clients. So could these providers extend their services, manage their sliding scale, and give back through a marketplace? Because there were so many providers who were already on 5 to 10 different marketplace apps or directories just to get listed, just to have exposure, just to try to
Wow.
get their name out there. Oh yeah, while they were trying to build a private practice. And many of these other apps that they were trying to, be featured on or be a part of don't allow them to take clients and move them into their private practice. So it really isn't a way for them to gain that person as a client. They have to play by these other apps' rules, and they have to keep these people on the app or be sneaky to take them off, which, is
Right.
questionable. And so for us, we help a provider manage their practice and open themselves to a marketplace where they can continue to work with those clients. And again, that's where we really make that impact by helping young people. And today we're actually helping over 1,600 college students get access to support for $25 a session. And those are people using the app and actively seeing a provider in our network.
That's incredible. And as someone who struggled with their own mental health, especially through college,
Mhm.
and, really needed support, I wish this was around back then. Like, that is incredible.
Thank you
So,
so much.
of course. So, what's been the strategy as far as outreach to practitioners and also
Yeah.
getting those college students, specifically those who may not have health insurance or need a very cost effective way to have access to this? I would love to hear a little bit more behind the scenes of your
Sure.
strategy.
Yeah, well, first we actually thought, we really needed an insurance partner. So we worked with a company that did a beta study with us and kind of used us as a case study really for them as well. And said, it was basically a company that helped other groups, which were either private practice or even as large as hospitals and those type of, communities and systems, helped them offer multiple insurance carriers to their networks. When we did this case with them, we ended up having 2 people out of our network. We had 50 people in the case study at the time. 2 people out of 50 show interest. And so we ran surveys and we were trying to understand why. 2 reasons. For the provider side, it was such a headache to get involved with insurance. So many of our providers already don't take insurance or help their clients get reimbursements through whatever their insurance might be. And
Right.
2, for young people, there was so much misinformation, misunderstanding, and fear, and even sometimes shame around using insurance because they're on their parents' insurance. So they were
Right.
nervous. What happens if I go use this insurance? Are my parents going to get something in the mail? Is something going to happen? If I go through my school, will they tell my parents? So, there's a
Right.
lot of that. So they wanted to just know for their own safety, if I spend my money, I'm going to spend my money. So that's why for us being $25, that really is the very similar to the average cost of a copay. So it
Right.
was easier for them to say, oh, it's $0 for my first session, $25 after that. Now, when it comes to like branding and when it comes to building our strategy and reaching out to people, with college students, we actually have not poured marketing dollars into ad spend for the college students in our marketplace. One, ad spend is just really expensive. It's a really crowded market right now. So it just didn't make sense for us to do that. So we literally, and I mean literally, go to college campuses and we walk around the campus if we're allowed, of course. And we, of course, are also a young team. So I think naturally people just assume that we're students.
Right.
But that aside, we talk to students and we go up to them. We show them the app. If we can have a table, we'll have a table. If we can hand out things, we'll hand out things. And we hold events and we participate with Greek life. And by doing that with these colleges, that's how we have grown our side of the app when it comes to college students. With providers, that in itself has just become like its own kind of beast,
Right.
with contacting providers. The market is very large. Coaching is actually like executive coaching, life coaching is a very fast growing market. So there are new life coaches and counselors that are coming into the market every day. And with behavioral therapists, it's already a pretty large market. So for us, we first started approaching therapists and private practice owners just by cold outreach and saying, hey, could this be of interest? We saw more interest recently, actually, with coaches, life coaches, executive coaches, because they're trying to scale their business and they go from 10 to 20 to 30 clients. How do they manage all of that? And
Right.
many of the coaches and executive coaches want PR and marketing services handled for them because they just don't have the time, but they know how important that is. So believe it or not, we do all of our acquisition for providers through cold outreach. So that's cold calling, that's cold emailing. If of course we meet people at events, great, but it's not our largest acquisition strategy right now with them.
Well, that's a really interesting strategy overall as far as being able to diversify your revenue streams, right? Because there's only so much you can make possibly over, $25 copay, but the fact that you have this technology that you could leverage and expand on who you provide that to, that also is a really interesting business model where so many entrepreneurs want to do good and they want to make things more approachable and tangible, but the fact that you're able to leverage that technology, that's
Mm.
really smart. I really love that because you are building a sustainable business model to make that impact and to make this accessible because you're able to leverage the back end of the business, so to speak. I'm obsessed with
Oh,
this
yeah.
business
Oh,
model.
thank you so much. And what, I'll also tell you, because I actually didn't mention this, but I think it's because we're so like focused right now on our cold outreach. But when we first launched, the way that we went from that 10 to 100 providers was through free, no money spent, free ad credit that we would get for Indeed and different platforms like LinkedIn.
Oh,
And this is like a little cheat sheet for any startup founder who's listening. Free credits. Yes, you might only have so many for one account, but that doesn't mean you can't make 100 accounts. So we actually would leverage free accounts with the company. I said, okay, everybody here in this team, we're going to create an account. So we started with, let's say, 10 accounts, and then we would have these free credits to post advertisements. And that's how we actually would book 40 to 60 calls on our calendar every single week with providers. And then as a team, we would go on and talk to these providers about what we were doing and really just leverage those free credits to get ads. And the reason we chose Indeed was because a lot of these providers were looking for directories to be a part of. They were looking for places to post a profile or other practices that just needed somebody as an extra, because going digital after COVID, they had so
right.
much to manage everything. And then also being able to stay HIPAA compliant when you're digital and being able to see the right clients, for their practice and being able to scale was hard. So they were trying to find other apps to be on, other opportunities. So
It
I
sounded
forgot to
like
mention.
almost the perfect time also to be approaching these practitioners
Oh,
during a
yeah.
time where they have to shift their business models also and focus so much on digital and you already had this built or
Oh, yeah. I
was
think totally.
building. Yeah.
Totally. And I think that a lot of providers today are like, the ones who kind of said, oh, I just threw stuff together, or I'm trying to manage everything, or I'm on all these platforms because as I was going digital, these were the platforms I found and they worked. And I just didn't have time to keep doing research and trying to find the best solution. So when we're like, whoa, you don't have to have 10 subscriptions, you don't have to have 4 different softwares. Like we can literally do all of this for you and you can open or close yourself to our marketplace. It's a really great solution for them. And it, like we like coined, we like to simplify your practice and amplify your impact. So
I Maggie Rose. I love all the things you're saying. So I would love to hear, what is the vision for Zant?
yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a very heavy question because there's so much to the vision for Zant. We really are set on impacting 1 million lives in the next 5 years. And alongside that, helping to support 250,000 different providers through our services. So that is what we are really hyper focused on. I think with our brand and with the brand voice, and we've been developing this brand voice, it's something that didn't come out of nowhere. It was something that we actually brought in an investor into our company who had a brand background and said, Maggie, I see the vision. I see where you're going with this. Let me try an attempt to show you what I see. And then let's see if I really understand it. And seeing that for the first time, I started to cry because he got it. It was about more than just words, more than just what we were saying to people, or more than even what we were already doing. It was about colors that make you feel some type of way.
Right.
You know, being able to make you feel happy, being able to make you feel excited about life, being able to make you feel like at the end of this or through your Zant journey, you're going to be living a better, more fulfilling life. So for our brand, impacting 1 million lives is more than just, hey, we want to connect you with services that's going to change your life and save your life and help your life. But it's also, we want you to feel a part of something, a part of a community. We want you to feel like you're going to be energized through this experience. So the future of Zant is very bright, literally,
Yes. Yes.
you know, and figuratively speaking. And we're just really excited and really, really focused on those goals I mentioned.
Amazing. And what piece of advice would you leave a founder, like a quick tidbit of like, okay, because founders go through a lot of mental health
Yes.
things, right? Like that was a big part of my story as well. So I would love to hear maybe something that you find helpful or anything that you've heard or remind yourself of like, okay, when you're building
Yeah.
this thing, here's something to keep in mind on those harder days.
100%. I'll give you two. I'll give you one from the side of mental health, and I'll give you one from the side of just another founder. I
Amazing.
think in regards to mental health, if you are in a period of your life where you're starting this journey, you're going through this journey, and you've never worked with a provider, find a therapist, find a coach. If you've worked with a therapist and maybe you've graduated or you've gotten to a point where you're not as regular or you're no longer seeing that person, find a coach, find an executive coach. And actually at Zant, we have all of those. We have life coaches, executive coaches, we have health and wellness coaches,
That's great to
therapists.
know.
So you know, I found that therapist I mentioned in my story, and Glenn really changed my life a lot. And with his help over those next 4 or 5 years of my life, I really got to a point where I felt more clear-minded and was healing and was on that journey of healing. However, he actually retired during COVID. And at that point, I went, oh my God, what do I do? You know, because I had been seeing this person and like it really helped me. Like I have to go find somebody now. So I was actually one of our first use cases, which I always recommend, like be your first
I love
client, be
it.
your first customer. And I found an executive coach who challenges me and stretches me and helps me think in ways that I never would have thought. It has made me a better leader, and it makes me a better leader every day. I think personally, as another founder, if you're going to do this thing, do it with everything you got and just stay really, really, really laser focused. And don't worry about what other people think or how other people along the journey might look at you as. You know,
Hmm.
be aggressive with your goal. And especially as a woman, don't be
Yes.
afraid to be aggressive. Go after it. You are mama bear and you are going and you're protecting your baby, but you're also helping them grow. So, you know, go after this with everything that you have, because if nothing can stop you, then nothing can stop you.
Yes. I love that so much. And I'll be re listening to this episode on those hard days. Most importantly, how does someone download Zant?
Well, you can go to the iOS or Android or Google Play Store, and you can type in ZANT, like the end of cognizant, and you can just type in Zant and you'll find us right away. It's free to download, free for your first session, and again, low cost after that. And we actually have a web version of our platform coming out in the next two,
Cool.
3 weeks. So we're so excited about it, but you can go to zant.app for information on the web version.
Great. Well, Maggie Rose, it was a pleasure to have you. Thank you for turning, like you said, your pain into passion and purpose and impact. And everyone go look up Zant. This is such an important conversation. And thank you so much for bringing us behind the scenes.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure, truly.
Same, same. Thank you everyone for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.